I tell you, man, they hate whenever you stand up for young black males. They hate whenever you give a preference to young black males, so-called black males. They hate when you teach black boys anything. And that's really what this Jameis Winston story is all about. Right? They're trying to use the cover once again, their favorite cover. The two favorite covers to attack the black man is always either homophobia or misogyny. And they're going to use that as a cover because he gave preferential treatment to young black boys.
Jameis Winston is absolutely getting murdered for comments he made at an elementary school in which he said boys should be strong and little girls, well, you should be quiet and basically seen and not heard. Welcome to TMZ Sports. Evan here with Van and Michael J. Babcock. Dude, it's getting bad and worse for Jameis Winston. I can't believe he said this stuff, but it all went down at an elementary school in St. Petersburg, Florida. He was asked to talk to third, fourth, and fifth graders. He was supposed to give an inspirational talk about how kids can achieve their dreams if they work hard enough, but he noticed some of the kids were getting bored and weren't paying attention, so he tried to up the energy, and then he made some of the most boneheaded comments I've ever heard. Take a look.
All my young boys stand up, man. The ladies sit down. Sit down. But all my boys stand up. Stand up. We strong, right? We strong, right? Okay, all my boys, just tell me one time. I can do anything I put my mind to. A lot of boys don't supposed to be soft-spoken. You know what I'm saying? One day y'all gonna have a very deep voice like this. Right now y'all talking like this, but one day you'll have a very, very deep voice. But the ladies, they supposed to be silent, polite, gentle. But my men supposed to be strong.
Okay, so he said there, the operative quote is, the ladies are supposed to be silent, polite, and gentle.
No, the operative quote was that men are supposed to be strong. That was the operative quote. He was trying to get the young boys to be more into what he was talking about, because he was trying to give them an encouraging speech. As you can see in the pictures in the background, he was at a black school. All right. So he was trying to teach the young boys how to be strong, because the young boys are the ones that's going to have to face a lot of these hardships. They create programs for black women to do well. All right. The young boys have to be strong. That's what he was trying to encourage. Now, Jameis Winston comes from a Southern background. He grew up in the church. So obviously he was taught out of the Bible. And the Bible does tell you that a good woman is silent, that a good woman is meek. All right. Now, obviously, in this society, they teach you the opposite, because this society is Luciferian. And that's the reason why you have such a high divorce rate and you have such a high abortion rate, because they've let these women out of they've let them out to do whatever the hell they feel like doing. And that's why you have so much confusion out here, because they tell women that they should be outshining men and be louder than men, and they could do whatever a man can do. And as we all know, that's not true. But anyway, continuing on.
In general, this is offending a lot of people.
I am not going to be quiet about this. This video makes me so angry. It is hard to watch. It is.
No, the reason why you're angry is because you're so out of shape. When you eat poorly, that affects your biochemistry. That's why you're always angry. Now look at this woman. Now look at this woman closely. She's out of shape. She's unattractive, and she has bad teeth. That means that she eats poorly, and she may have an eating disorder. All right. Females that have those problems, they always try to compensate for it by being feminazis. All right, because that's the only way that they can get attention. Once again, look at her. She's at least 60 to 70 pounds overweight and has brown teeth. That means that she drinks too much coffee. She probably smokes. She has terrible eating habits and poor hygiene. All right. Those are the women that's always trying to be super feminist, because they cannot get attention any other way.
It is painful for me as a woman. This reinforces every negative stereotype and every sexist connotation that there is in society right now.
Okay, Jameis Winston is calling this a poor word choice. He's saying I used a poor.
And you see, they got him to back down a little bit. He said I used a poor word choice. You didn't use any poor word choice. You just used words. Everything that he said was on point. Right? A good woman is supposed to be silent. She's supposed to save her words for her husband in the house. She's not supposed to be out in the street yelling and carrying on. And we see the effects of loudmouth women today. They've done nothing positive for society at all, other than run their mouth and cause confusion in their own household, particularly in the so-called black community. That's the reason why you have so many incarcerated young black men. They're being raised by loudmouth, simple-minded females.
Her word choice that may have overshadowed the positive message for some. You're not buying that.
No, there's no other words you could have chosen to convey that message. The problem is with the message that he's conveying, that women are not strong and women should be submissive to men and men should be dominant. And this is going to be a huge problem for these fourth graders when they get older.
Look at this idiot. She's clearly mentally unstable. How could that possibly be a problem for fourth graders that he said that men have to be strong and women should be meek? If more young girls were taught that, it would stop a lot of the abortions, it would stop a lot of the self-image issues and the great insecurities that most of these little girls have. They're not taught anything about how to be women. They're taught to try to be men. And the funny thing about the equality doctrine that they try to teach these women is that the women only want to be equal when it suits them. When it comes to wages and being in the limelight and notoriety and fame, yeah, they want to be equal then. But when it comes to the hardships of life, and then all of a sudden they want a traditional man. They're the first ones talking about whatever happened to men that could build a house from scratch. Whatever happened to a bitch that can cook a cake from scratch, that could bake a cake from scratch. Right? All this nonsense that these females are trying to perpetuate, and it's not all their fault. It's mostly batteries that's been put in their back. And it's because of the weakness of modern day men like these three idiots on the left hand side.
I think now this has gotten to the point where we have gone way overboard here. We are parsing Jameis Winston's words. This was part of...
And at least the little, the white boy on the bottom, he realized that they were going too far with it.
Part of an hour-long...
And obviously this nice looking young lady has no problem with Jameis.
Long speech, a speech which he gave on his own...
See how she looked at him lovingly?
own free will. He was trying to help the kids. He has admitted that he used a poor choice of words.
You're right. We shouldn't blame him. We should blame whoever let him speak there, because he is clearly not a role model, and blame whoever didn't jump in and stop him.
This chick is one of those, she's like one of them Lena Dunham white girls. One of those white, big, fat, sloppy, unattractive white girls who wants to get attention by talking about feminism all the time. And then meanwhile was probably molested as a child. Right? She's mad at men because, you know, somebody molested her as a child and she hasn't gotten any real sexual attention since then.
Number one, real quick, he is attempting to be a role model. He's there. He's trying to boost the self-esteem of young kids.
Right, he's a 23-year-old man.
I will say this, though.
He's doing more harm than good.
There's no way to really defend what Jameis Winston said, but if you watch the video...
If you're a man, you could defend what he said with no problem. If you're a man, you have no problem defending what he said, because he didn't mean any harm by it. All this is nonsense.
The video, he wasn't trying to hurt anyone. It's possible he's not as educated on these issues as he should be.
In other words, he's not under mind control. When they say he's not as educated, it means that he's not under mind control. And what you'll find with a lot of these guys, like these guys on the left-hand side, most of their personal lives are in shambles, right? They either can't keep a woman, or the woman that they do have is walking all over them like a red carpet.
That's why it's appropriate for him to take his medicine for what he said.
It doesn't matter what his intentions were. It's irresponsible to have him around children. This is terrible.
It does matter what his intentions are.
Because these kids don't know what his intentions were. They don't care.
Well, they'll learn now, right? They'll see the backlash from this, and they'll know now that what Jameis Winston said.
One of the kids' reaction, according to the Tampa Bay Tribune, a reporter was there and reported back that a female student who was there stood up, turned to a faculty member and said, "What about me? I'm strong too." Clearly offended and confused by Jameis's comments.
No, I think that she was very confused by what her mother's been teaching her. That's what she's confused by. And we'll probably see her in the WNBA in another 15 years with a tattoo on her neck.
Well, I can only hope that that teacher or that child's parents can then counteract them.
You mean parent, singular. Parent, singular. Because I'm sure that girl don't have two parents.
The message that Jameis was putting forth, because otherwise these kids are going to be damaged from this.
Well, they hopefully that this one speech won't damage them for the rest of their lives.
Look, even the guys, even the simps on the left-hand side are like, this chick is bugged out of her mind.
I think they'll remember when their big hero football player came to give them life advice.
Actually, to be honest with you, at this point, what they'll remember is how much their big hero football player got in trouble for saying something that was wrong. And what we can only hope is that Jameis Winston also realized why the substance of what he said, the ideas in his head, aren't appropriate anymore. Aren't appropriate ever, to be honest with you.
They're not appropriate anymore. The only way for you to tell whether something is appropriate or not is through empirical data. Meaning, can we go into the statistics and say that due to the modern or the new age ideas that we're taught that they've benefited society, have the ideologies of feminism and homosexual empowerment, have these things improved society relationship wise, or have they made them worse? I think the numbers irrefutably speak to the fact that feminism has destroyed the family. It's destroyed the mind of the woman. It's destroyed the children. It's destroyed the workplace. Now all these females are flooding the workplace. It's made it harder for men to get jobs. It's made the wages lower because now you have a larger pool to choose from. You don't have to pay people as much. That's why men can't raise families by themselves anymore, because you have so many women in the workplace. They can afford to pay you less because you have a larger pool to choose from.
8-year-olds are watching the backlash on the news, so they're going to see how he got in trouble. They're watching their local news.
I think they are absolutely aware of it, and if they're not aware of it today, they definitely will be aware of it tomorrow when their teachers explain it.
To Kim's point, I will say this. When I was in 5th grade, David Foster came into my elementary school. You know who he is, right?
Yes.
And he came to one of our singing performances, and I asked him, I said, David Foster, can I be singing one day? And he said no.
David Foster was right.
That's
he
right.
was a good role model for you.
Listen to his lightning rights.
Yeah, when the guy David Foster spoke harshly to the little boy, he was right and it was okay. See, the fat white chick, she's an example of a lot of these teachers that are currently teaching students today. You know, that's why you have to be careful who's teaching your children, who's teaching your child, because they send these angry fat fat white chicks into these schools to teach your children all this nonsense, all this modern liberal nonsense. And if they're not fat and white, then they're slim and white and they're trying to sleep with your kids. So you got to watch out all the way across the board in regards to who you're allowing to teach your children anything, because it's going to affect their mindset and their future. That's why the children don't have any regard for teachers anymore, because the teachers want to be children. All right. But this is just another example. They really were just mad that he pinpointed the black boys, because, you know, it's okay for them to say that black girls rock. Right. They could have TV shows called Black Girls Rock and strong, independent black woman, and women could do things that men can't do, and women are stronger than men. They could say those type of things. But when he came on and said men have to be strong and women should be silent, which is biblical teaching, which you could tell he got from his growing up, from how he was raised, all of a sudden he's the worst guy ever. So that's how they proactively try to stop black men from being leaders in their own community. Especially the so-called white man and white woman. They always are trying to influence blacks on what they're teaching their children. And when you look at most of these Caucasian households, they're in shambles. Their children are strung out on drugs and all type of other issues. All right, the American whites, they shouldn't be teaching anybody anything about how to raise their children, especially with the condition that our children are in. The last thing that we should be doing is listening to them about anything. All right, so, you know, this story just It annoyed me, and I wanted to make sure that people saw it and understood what was going on, the reality behind it. It has nothing to do with him being a misogynist or a woman hater. It has to do with him standing up for black boys and pinpointing black boys and trying to empower them and show them how strong they need to be. And they don't like that, right? In the black community, they want you to believe that the woman is stronger than you. All right, so peace.